Welcome to the Transporter Room. I'm your host, Chris Garris, and I'm joined today by my co-host, Allison Leach Hyde. We're incredibly excited to introduce the members of Letterdex: Jen Anderson, Evan English, Glenn Hambley, Cricket Yee, John Jurgens, and Duncan K. Frazier. Letterdex is a group of actors who portrayed the smaller characters of Star Trek Enterprise. You can find them at conventions where they cosplay as Starfleet veterans proudly serving on the Enterprise NX-01. So let's beam them in. All right, so here we go. All right, so honestly, I met Duncan several months ago via our mutual friend Cassandra Gerard, and we started talking, and ever since then we've just been able to stay connected, and we actually ran into each other at STLV. And I had hoped, my plan was to get to Vegas in time to see y'all's panel, but work did not allow that. So I had to, I didn't get there until Friday. So I missed the dang panel. But again, we started talking about all this and was like, why don't we just try and do it again, but do it ourselves, so that for everybody that did not get to go to SCLV. And that's how this came together. Like literally, we were sitting in Vic's lounge, and I think we were just talking, and they started brainstorming about it. And I was like, oh my God, because Duncan and I had already discussed doing a second interview because, there was so much to do. And I was like, wait a second, let's just bring them all in. If you can wrangle the entire group together, let's just do it.
Yeah, I figured if I got them all physically someplace, I could probably get them all virtually someplace. So.
Again.
Duncan, you were right.
Hey!
Yes.
Yay!
And my guess this is the first time we're being back together since then, too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
True also.
Oh, yeah. So I'm going to just say, let's just start off, one at a time. Let's, give us a little, background about yourself. Did you always, was acting something you thought you would always want to do, or was it, did someone you were a kid, or it just kind of, I think I'm gonna try that one day. And so, instead of starting, we're gonna start with John. You start.
My background, well, I actually have a degree in finance. Growing up as a kid, I did all the theater stuff. I was in the drama club, the chorus. We did plays, everything all through middle and grade school, grade school, middle school. And then my parents and everyone said, you really need to get a business degree, focus on, the real world. The acting or the drama stuff is okay, but, go and get your college degree. So I did that. I have a degree in finance. And I was working at the time in an investment company, and my job was eliminated. So they said, you can either look for something else or take the severance. So I took the severance and moved to Los Angeles. And that's when I started to take more classes. I went to a community college to take some acting classes because I wanted to follow my dream at that point. So I took some classes at a community college. I took some classes with Margie Haber. She has a little, her own independent studio. I did the SAG Conservatory, just submitting for student projects. Eventually, I started doing background, and that led to standing in, and it's been amazing. It's something I've always wanted to do. I haven't looked back as far as like the finance stuff, because that would have been a different life completely. I am an actor at heart, and just especially getting on Enterprise. This is a quick story. I loved Voyager. I do love Voyager. I love TNG. I love Voyager. And I tried to get onto Voyager because I knew the show was ending by season 7. I had gone in there and interviewed 7 times for that show. And on the 7th time, I knew the show was ending. They'd bring us in, whole group of people. They'd take a Polaroid, write your name and phone number on the picture. They bring you upstairs, to meet some of the big shots. And on the 7th time, they said, okay, just so you know, there are 8 spots available, but 9 people here. And I knew right away, it was totally disappointing. But that led to then going to the Enterprise interview, which I had no idea at the time the Enterprise was starting up, and no one did. And then so I got called in for the Enterprise interview, and I booked it, and it was the happiest day of my life. It's been just such a roller coaster between we're on Enterprise. I did 3 of the films, actually. Before Enterprise, I was on Insurrection. I did Insurrection, and that was I'll talk quickly because I know other people have their stories. But with Insurrection, again, it was an interview we had to go to. They brought in hundreds of people to the Paramount lot at the Paramount Theater, which was like a big circular room. We all lined up against the wall. They'd come around, they'd say yes, no, yes, no. And on the first round, I got rejected. And I'm like, this is my dream. I want to be in Hollywood. I want to work on Star Trek. And so they were doing another casting a couple of days later and actually snuck into the lot. I don't know how I did, but somehow I snuck into the lot. I got into into the lobby, the Paramount lobby, and I stood there and they came around and they said, yes. And that's how the very first job I had on Star Trek was Insurrection. And that was before I booked Enterprise, and I knew right there I wanted to be a part of it, and it's been fantastic, just absolutely fantastic.
Well, Cricket, you tell us about how you got started.
I'm so glad you asked, because there's a story that I don't think even I've told you guys, which is I'm a geophysics major, actually. I went to UC Santa Cruz, and I hated being a scientist. So I decided to travel. And so I traveled, and I would travel like 9 months of the year. I'd come back and work until I saved up $2,000 and I'd leave. And the way that I would make money is by doing temp work at offices and stuff like that, because I hated office work too, but I did it because I needed to make a living. And so for some reason, I booked a ticket to Japan. I was going to go to Japan for my second time, and I had like 3 months free. So I thought, you know what? I'm just going to go down to LA and check it out. I'm from Northern California originally. And so I came down here and was doing temp work. I was working at a sprinkler parts company in Canoga Park. I cried every day on my way home because I hated that job so much. It was awful. And I was just vegging, watching TV, and Seinfeld was on. And I went, hey, this is LA. I wonder if I can do extra work or something. So I went to the phone book. You remember those? I went to talent agencies, and there were talent agencies in there. So I called up a talent agency. I was very lucky in this way. I called up a talent agency, and they said, we don't really do that sort of thing here, but there's a company called Central Casting. Go sign up with them. And it turns out I was lucky. I didn't get scammed or anything. A lot of people got scammed trying to get into extra work, but I just called straight in and started working. And that's how I got into it.
Oh, wow.
Good story.
The phone book.
The phone book, talent agencies. I was so lucky. I'm forever thankful to that woman who told me the truth, which is go sign up at Central Casting.
Not to interrupt, but I was one of those fools that got scammed 3 times by going to Venice. I went to Venice Beach when I first came to LA. I went to Venice Beach, and on the light pole they had the little pull tabs of the paper saying, call this, be in a movie, be on TV, earn $800 a day. I was the fool that did that 3 times before I got smart to say, you know what, I'm not doing this anymore. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was a school. It was a hard learning curve for me before I actually found my way to Central Casting, and that changed everything.
Yeah, and the way that I ended up on Star Trek was I actually got called into audition. So yeah, it was nice.
Wow.
And when I got the job, Marvin picked me. All these people came up to me and they said, "Oh, congratulations! You've got a job for 7 years." And I was like, "Oh."
Whoops.
Oops.
Whoopsie. So, Evan, what about yourself?
Yeah, well, I live in San Francisco. I run an investing business in real estate, and also starting up a very small retail-based venture capital firm with a friend of mine. And that's kind of what I'm doing here. My story on Star Trek was kind of similar to John's in that it was before 9/11, and I actually crashed an audition. A friend of mine called me, said, "Hey, they are, they're casting for Star Trek, a new Star Trek series, and you got to get down there because I know you love sci-fi so much." I was a big sci-fi fan. I still am. And so I got into my crappy little car and I drove down the lot. Again, this is before 9/11, so there were no guards guarding the entrances. And crashed the audition. There was 2,000 guys there, guys and girls, I think. And I got, picked to be on the bridge, which was one of the rarest. There was probably only a couple spots available there. And I got lucky, and they used me as the backup pilot helmsman for the NX-01 for that ship. So very cool. So I spent a lot of time with Anthony Montgomery, switching in and out of seats. That was kind of what we did a lot. But they had me, like you saw, like the motion capture stuff. They had me do a lot of other stuff as well, a lot of aliens, stuff like that. Yeah.
Oh man, that's kind of okay. Well, it just still blows my mind that y'all could crash the studio. I mean, I seriously thought they would have had guards there that would have been like, no, you may not come in.
Well, the 90s was a
They
lot.
did eventually.
The biggest challenge was that you were supposed to be on a list for the audition. You had to go through a whole series of auditions. You had to first go through, one round, and you had to go in front of the producers.
Yep.
And you had to answer a bunch of questions, and you had to do this, do that. And most of the time they were just looking at you and seeing if you were the right whatever.
Ever.
And so it was very.
There was a lot of
lucky.
hoops.
So I was
Jumped through a lot of hoops just to get to that point.
Yeah.
I wasn't on the list. So how did I get on the list? So I went up to who's Michael Demerit, who I didn't know, first time I had met him, and he was the second AD on Enterprise, in case fans don't know. But went up to him, basically said, hey, I'm on the list, and he checked. He said, I don't see your name here, but I don't know. Let me call them up. And somehow I got up to see the producers, and I still to this day don't know how that was. If Michael is listening to this, I hope he doesn't remember it.
That's funny. Oh gosh. Oh, he did. How about you?
Way to hustle, Evan. That's awesome that you just, yeah.
That is.
So I have a crazy karma story that goes actually way back to when I was in my 20s. And so right now, I have my PhD in spiritual practices and a master's in ministry, and I do a lot of trauma and retreat work with people. But I have this kind of like relationship with the universe that's shown up in really unusual ways in my life. And in my 20s, way before I was in LA or wanted anything to do with the film industry whatsoever, I was publishing a magazine, and I had a business partner, and he was the biggest Star Trek fan I had ever met. This guy lived and breathed by Star Trek. And at the same time, so I have this business partner, I'm publishing this magazine. I'm also really naive, growing up in Arizona, moving to New York, and I'm dating this guy who I think they based the character of Tony Soprano off of. He's got this huge home in New Jersey that I can't see because he's still divorcing his wife. And every time we go to an Italian restaurant, we're the only two people eating in it, except for the guys guarding the door. Oh. And I'm pretty naive, right? So anyways, things go really bad with this business partner of this magazine. And he ends up like scamming me out of a ton of money. And so I'm at dinner with, Tony Soprano, and I'm lamenting that this is happening. And so this, we're in this little tiny, darkly lit Italian restaurant, and this guy says to me, babe, what do you want me to do? You want me to toss him somewhere? And I'm like, naive girl from Arizona, and like, I don't want her to fly. I'm like, oh, no. Thank you. That's so sweet of you.
Very
really?
romantic.
What? And then I just pull it out of the blue. I go, this guy's the biggest Star Trek fan in the world, and I believe in karma. I believe karma will hurt him more than you can. So someday, I don't know, I'm going to be on the bridge of the Star Trek Enterprise, and that guy is going to just destroyed by it. And so nobody gets injured, nobody's thrown under a bridge. Life goes on. And like 20 years later, I'm working in the film industry, but mostly in production as a production assistant. And assistant directors would call central casting and say, hey, can we use this Jen Anderson chick as a stand-in? Because they weren't always allowed to have as many production assistants as they needed, but they could hire me as a stand-in to fill in as a production assistant. And then, I could do the PA work for them. So central casting knew who I was, but they didn't really know who I was because they weren't the ones that usually sent me out. But I guess there was some difficulty getting a stand-in to stick for this one character. And I get this call from central casting, and they're like, "We don't really know who you are, but these assistant directors keep asking for you. So would you be interested in auditioning for Star Trek?" And of course, I'm this huge Star Trek fan, also. And then there was this like weird karmic thing floating in the universe, and so yeah, I went, and I didn't even have to audition. I just started working actually as a stand-in for Jolene Blaylock, and it worked out. I got along with the director of photography. They said, "You've got the job." And then it wasn't until like a couple weeks later where I'm actually dressed in uniform and sitting on the bridge of the Enterprise where I was like, oh my gosh, 20 years ago, I had the choice between getting some guy seriously injured or telling the universe I could be on Star Trek. And I felt like, oh my gosh, I just got the biggest reward of all time and the best ever karmic payoff.
Oh, that's an awesome story.
That is truly amazing.
I mean, you basically kept someone from having concrete boots.
Yep.
Oh, that's too funny. Oh my God. So Glenn, how'd you get started in all this fun stuff?
Hi, Chris. I'm the token Canadian letter decker. I hail from Victoria, British Columbia, which is, of course, pretty close to Duncan. That's how I got roped into the whole thing. Well, no, I won't say that's how, because it wasn't just proximity. Duncan and I have been in contact for all the years since we wrapped, and it was a pleasure to get roped in, as it were. So I crashed the party as well, the Paramount lot. So most of you will have heard central casting brought up a bunch of times. So obviously, all of us are were registered with central casting at the time. They were the big, and they still are the big background casting agency, and they have two divisions: the non-union and the union side. So I had started. My background, I'd wanted to be an actor as well for most of my life, and inspired in a lot of ways by sketch comedy, things like SCTV, which is Canada's hilarious export, who gave you such John Candy and Rick Moranis, all those guys, Eugene Levy. So I was inspired to do that kind of work, but I'd always been a Star Trek fan as well. And to make a long story short, I'd gone to the American Academy of Dramatic Arts. And then after I'd come back from England, where I had tried to sort of break onto the London stage without having any training, just thinking that, wanting it was enough to get there. But so I had a different experience in London because I got to work for a theater booking company, and I got to see a lot of shows like Comte and things like Les Miserables when it was still in previews, and Phantom of the Opera, things like that. And I actually got to see Les Mis with Paul McCartney and Gene Hackman. Not with, but they happened to be attending the show at the same time. So that was a real treat for me. Anyway, back to LA. I was married at the time and had 3 young children. And we were living in Nashville, my wife and my family. We decided to just head out to LA and give it one more shot, because I had actually heard that there's the new Star Trek show coming up, and the Voyager was in its winding down. And so we decided in 2000 we made this decision to head out in 2000, and we arrived in 2001, and promptly I found some ads for background work, and I ended up working on Ali as a non-union extra, which was actually really a horrible experience. It was in a cold warehouse. I remember being wrapped up in 5 or 6 layers after I figured out that I needed to bring all these layers to keep from, and even then I was shivering, but it wasn't a very nice experience. Well, eventually I got to like it, and just being in a Michael Mann film and working with Will Smith that was, it started to take on a
Yeah.
pretty exciting luster. So then my strategy from then on was I wanted to get my union card, my Screen Actors Guild, and of course they're merged with with AFTRA now, but at the time it was just the Screen Actors Guild. So I would spec the lines. I would call the union lines and see what was going on, and I ended up getting info on the Planet of the Apes. We're looking for some background with long hair, and so I didn't have long hair at the time. And Jennifer Bender is the casting director for this, and you guys will know she was the casting director for Star Trek as well. So she looked at me and said, "Okay, I think they could probably use you. We'll put a wig on you and be one of the human survivors in Planet of the Apes." So that just was serendipity, because why would they have hired me in the first place if I didn't fit the bill with the long hair? Anyway, they did. It was an experience, and I got my SAG eligibility, my 3 vouchers on Planet of the Apes. And then shortly after that, I spec'd the line for and heard that there was a Voyager was looking for some people for the last episode. So I crashed the gate. And in this case, Duncan, you'll know, it was the Lemon Grove entrance, not you, where you normally were, but just down the street of it. There's a drive-in gate. So I walked in through that gate,
The Van Ness gate.
looking like I knew what I was doing, and just headed over to where
Oh my
where
gosh.
the casting was going on, and there was a bunch of people out there, and there was no list, or if there was, they weren't referring to it. They were just taking people up 5 at a time. And so I stood there in front of the casting directors and the producers, and next thing I knew, my name was called, and I got to be a Vulcan on the last episode of Voyager. This was a dream come true.
Nice.
So here, I'm in Hollywood and get to work on Star Trek, and I'm Vulcan of all things. So this was a great entrance to the Star Trek world. So I got that little gig, and then it turns out that somebody else wasn't around for another featured spot, which was a scene with Kate Mulgrew. And John, you saw me, didn't you? Before, when I first met you, you remember me from that scene, I believe.
I remembered you from that scene because it was fantastic that you come into the room where she's having this talk with all the cadets, and you go up to her and whisper something in her ear, and she quickly walks away. But I remembered you straight away the first time I saw you.
Yeah. So
Wow.
John and I got to be pretty close right away on set.
Absolutely.
And so that scene came about because somebody didn't show up. And I remember listening to Duncan's, or part 1 of this cast, where Duncan was talking about Jerry.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening.
Oh, yeah, man.
Thanks for listening.
Yes. Thank you for watching and
Oh, it's
listening.
great. And Duncan was talking about Jerry Fleck, the beloved first AD. He took a real liking to me, I think, from that scene. And when it wrapped, I was fully expected to be called back for Enterprise, because Michael Demerit at the time said, "Yeah, we're gonna be calling you back." And it turned out later it was Jerry, I think, who was instrumental in that. But anyway, it didn't ever happen. It didn't happen until I think the 9th or 10th episode, when I got called in to play an Andorian, or to photo double one of the guys from the Andorian incident, who didn't, Jeff Ricketts, I think was his name. He played one of the guys. He wasn't coming back for that, and so I got to keep that uniform, that amazing costume, and because it fit me, I was then in any time Jeffrey Combs came on as Shran. So, and then later on, Arlene, another of the beloved first ADs, I think she was a second at the time, maybe not, but she's Arlene.
Who, Arlene?
Yeah,
Arlene
yeah.
Fukai?
Cool.
Can I just add something to Glenn's story? The Andorian incident, I remember this because when I was first booked on Enterprise, I wasn't being called. And I was like, what's going on? What's happening? Why don't they call me? It's been a couple of months. I knew they were filming. And so they actually called me. Mike Demir called me. He said, "Hey, have you ever done prosthetic work?" And of course, I was going to say yes either way, but I had just done an episode on, yeah, I was going to say, oh, yeah, for sure. But I had just done an episode on the show Angel, where they painted me green and I was a warrior. So I said, yeah, sure, I've done prosthetic work. He said, okay, we're going to bring you in as a Vulcan. And that was episode 7, the Andorian incident with Glenn. So I actually, like Glenn, I was an alien before I was Starfleet. I played a Vulcan in my very first episode, which was episode 7, the
That's
Andorian
cool.
incident.
That was even before you got
nice.
your flight suit then, huh?
Even before, yeah, before I was Starfleet, yeah. And after that, things, I became, I started being used as Starfleet. But yeah, I was a Vulcan first in episode 7, and I was freaking out because I was like, why aren't they calling me yet? But it worked out, yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
That same thing actually happened to me. Is after I had the audition on Star Trek Enterprise, like a 3-week period where you just heard nothing.
Yeah.
And I kept waiting for the phone to ring. I'm going out to other auditions, doing other things, but in the back of my head is they haven't called yet. Every day, they haven't called yet. They haven't called yet. And then finally, I kind of had started to forget about it after 2 weeks, and on the 3rd week, I got that call, and like many here, it was the happiest day of my life. But it was pretty awesome, especially to learn that I was on the bridge. So
well, the bridge would be awesome. It's going to be a great place to be. I mean, oh my gosh,
it's where everything happens. It's the best.
That's right. It's where all the action is. With the exception of engineering, where Duncan would hung out a little bit.
Yeah,
John too.
That's right.
I mean, I got to hang out with the 5 principals, almost every time I was there, and I always got these 2 shots with Jolene or with whoever, and it was a good spot.
Yeah.
I don't know if they. I don't know if it came up actually, but Evan was the stand-in for Dominic Keating, and Cricket was the stand-in for Linda Park. And Jen, you said who yours was. So yeah, those 3 are like principal stand-ins. They're basically all every time the cast.
There were separate auditions for those as well. It's another story.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, we may have to get into that here in a minute. Damn, that's so cool. Duncan, I know we've done it. Just quickly tell us about your background, like the 30-second version. No.
Great. 30-second list. So I had the complete opposite experience from all of these intrepid folk that are crashing.
Yeah. I was actually sitting here thinking, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I was going to say, I think you're the only one that came in through the front door legitimately.
Yeah, and then I guarded it.
Me and Jen, we were legit.
Okay. That didn't crash. That didn't crash.
Of the
right. After that, nobody crashed.
Oh.
No, but
that's too funny.
It was definitely serendipitous, though. I like that word. I think Jen used it, but I went to school at a Christian university called Asbury, and they had a special program where you could go for a month or for a semester and do an internship at an entertainment company. So I did that, and that was actually in the fall of 2001. So while I was in that is when 9/11 happened, and it was like a whole tragedy. I still remember seeing it on TV, of course, but that opened a door because it tightened the security at all the studios because they were all like, targets of high priority for Al-Qaeda, I guess. And it just happened that a person that had graduated from that same 1-semester program as me years before, you're plugged into the alumni now, and he was a security officer at Paramount, and I was looking for a job, and got in touch with him, and he's like, yeah, there's a job, and I have a martial arts background. I also had done a lot of retail sales by then, so I kind of had the people angle and the defend myself angle if that ever happened. So I got that job. So I came in, started in like January of 2002 as a staff security officer at Paramount, and started doing. You could do 2 things at that time. You could be stuck at a gate or on a specific patrol on a specific shift and always get 40 hours a week. Or you could do what they called part-time, which I actually made full-time money at, which just was all the weird stuff. Parties, audience shows, celebrity details, filling in for people on those gates and whatever for vacations. And that allowed me to see the whole studio, get to know all kinds of people. And that kind of matriculated down to I met another guard there whose name is David Hayes. He had a speaking part, like a day player spot on season 1. And I forget what episode, but he was in the armory. I know that. And I think he was operating the rocket, launching controls. He said, "Hey, I work at this gate full time, and I've met Brandon Braga, who's come through the gate all the time. I know you're trying to get in places. Do you think you might want to be on Star Trek?" And I'm like, yeah. I've been like a Star Trek fan since I was 8. So let's do that for sure. And I had already been working with central casting. At that point, like, because the spec thing wasn't a thing anymore, you had to be invited and stuff. Like, I had been doing that on the side with the security thing. So anyway, long story short, next time I filled in for a guy at that gate at that shift, I got to meet Brandon, and he agreed to tell the office to take a look at me. And but even then, the whole span of time thing, I had to call for probably 3 weeks to a month. Probably I called maybe at least once a week, twice a week, something like that. And they finally got me in. Arlene Fukai did my inspection. I had a loose shirt on. She's like, "All right, stand up and tuck your shirt down. Like, you hiding anything under there?" Like, she's looking for a belly that's going to stick out from the flight suit. Right?
Oh my gosh.
I messaged her recently and was like, "Hey, remember this?" And she's like, "Oh, I don't think so." Anyway, so that's how I ended up on the show, and they put me straight on the bridge too, in the back. I didn't get to do any of the cool front row stations ever, but yeah, I had a good time. There was a lot of places. So that's my story of getting in.
I still enjoy it. I'm going to say this before we move on, but awesome. Great stories of how you got onto the set and on the show. I mean, this is going to be, I think everybody's going to love to hear all this. It's just, oh man, this is so cool.
Nothing but perseverance on all of your parts. Like, no, I want Star Trek. I want this particularly, and I'm gonna do this. So that's really cool.
I actually had no idea that so many of us crashed and were not legitimately supposed to be there for the audition. I had no idea. Honestly, I'm honestly shocked to hear that. Yeah.
I only crashed Insurrection. Okay. I only crashed Insurrection. I actually got into
good for us that we had we had the gall to go.
Yeah. Can I just I don't know if it was the first. Sure. I did 2. It was the Andorian photo double, and there was another one that came after. Was Civilization, where I played an alien called a Valakian. No, an Akali. Or anyways, one of the 2. And it's one where Scott and I should say Archer and Trip go down to the planet disguised
Dr. Phlox.
As I think it's the first time they had to alter themselves to appear like they were pre-war.
Civilization.
So I actually got to play a shadow in that episode as well. But the costume they gave me was so interesting as a Star Trek fan because everything is labeled in wardrobe with the previous actor. So there was a recycled piece, and they recycle all the time, wardrobe and things like that from one show to the next. So there was this tunic, a kind of a plaid tartan tunic that had LeVar Burton's name in it, and he had worn that in the Next Gen episode where Worf was not a merry man. The holodeck, sort of a rough type of.
Q-Who. No, not Q. What was it called? Cupid.
Right.
Cupid.
That's right.
Cupid.
So I got to wear LeVar's wardrobe for a scene. Yeah. Amazing.
That's nice. That's so cool. Oh.
All right. Well, I'm going to take the next question for whomever wants to chime in. So what brought on this meeting of the minds, as it were, for Letter Decks and coming and hanging out with us at STL here? It was so great to meet you. You're all pointing to
Duncan.
Yeah. Hey.
This guy right here.
That's awesome.
Oh, thanks, guys. Yeah,
Duncan.
I moved out of Hollywood and quickly realized that unlike in Hollywood, where when you've done a background role 20 years ago on a show that barely got syndicated, no one cares. When you're out in the world and you were on Star Trek, you're a character on Star Trek. And I have a freaking name of a character on Star Trek. And I've done many episodes, way less than any of these guys, by the way. But, enough. So I was like, I always it's my fondest memories, the best thing I've ever done. And I love talking about it. But like even out, anywhere you go, there's going to be Star Trek fans and there are going to be people that aren't and don't care. And I'm like, I don't lead with that when I meet people because, that would make me a weirdo. It's like, hi, I'm Duncan and I was on Star Trek. Want to hear about it? Like, that's a little weird. But
to be clear, he's still a weirdo. Just
still a weirdo. Yes, definitely in that weirdo range. And I just was thinking like, okay, where can I go where I know people want to hear? Like I could totally go to conventions and I don't have to be on the docket. I could just go there and like find people that, the obvious ones would be anybody that's cosplaying in the flight suit and just be like, hey, I was actually on the show and, hey, want to hear about it? So I kind of put that all together with like kind of the idea of being a veteran because my grandpa was in World War II. And he used to like to wear his like Army infantry artillery hat and go to the diner and like talk with the other guys that had the World War II hats, like that scene. And remember that fondly. And there's a big culture of that up here with retired military here in the like Tacoma, Washington area, big base, joint base Lewis McChord up here. And my brother had just gotten out of the Air Force after 20 years. So I'm like, put that together and I'm basically saying, hey, I'm going to be at that diner around this time. If you want to hear some stories about being on the ship, come on down. Right. So I pitched it to Glenn, who was like he said, we'd kept up and he's geographically closest and was like, oh, there's a convention coming up in Seattle. And he liked the idea. I'm like, hey, let's do something crazy. Let's go to Seattle and like just dress like veterans and walk around and just like invite people to dinner and tell stories. And he was game and we did it. And we got a couple people to show up and we engaged, a bunch of people. And we only went one day, but that's it got started that way. And then I let Larry Nemechek know and he interviewed me on Portal 47 about it. Yep. And then Glenn went to one up in Canada on his own. And then we did another one here in this area. And in the meantime, I got also on this show the first time. And so by then it's just like it picked up speed and suddenly I'm like, hey, let's get more people and go to Vegas. Like I was recruiting people at the same time, right? In our little messenger group. And we've got 3 others that aren't even here. David Anderson, who stood in for Anthony Montgomery, Henry Farnham, who's another like run around, background person.
And flew Columbia.
And then JR.
Oh, wow.
Queen known as. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't hear
Henry
that.
flew Columbia once that got going. He was in a flight.
Oh, really?
That's awesome. He's got so cool. Good stuff too. So then I was like, well, it's going to be hard to get everybody motivated if we're just kind of showing up and just like talking to people. It's kind of a bigger deal than that. So I thought, well, Larry must know who runs the thing. I'll ask him. So I texted him. And he's like, oh, yeah, it's Ryan T. Husk, and here's his email, and tell him that I sent you. So I did, and I put that in the subject line. Larry Nemechek sent me, basically, and pitched him letter decks and what we've been doing. And it's like, here's the other 5 people I'm thinking about bringing in links to their Memory Alpha and IMDb pages. Would this add enough value to your event to be worth throwing us some free passes? I figured, like, even if we have to travel there, if we have free passes and the event sanctions us, like that's a lot, right? That's pretty cool. And he replied within 3 hours and was like, yeah, you can have some free passes if you earn them by doing a panel. I'm like, oh, twist my arm, why don't you?
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah. So of course inside I'm like, right? I might have been on the outside world too. You have to ask my wife and kid, but then once that was in play,
completely normal and great for your panel. So don't worry about it. I'm in the audience.
Yeah. Thank you for coming. You. So that's kind of how we got here, and we'll see what's next. I already emailed Ryan like, hey, how do we plug into the ecosystem of creation entertainment? events, and separately, I'm trying to get us on the cruise. So we'll see if that works out. That would be cash money if we did that.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, we'll have to come up with a variety act, though, guys. Okay.
Yeah.
Dancing, maybe, or pie throwing. I don't know. Well, magic. There you go.
So you kind of touched on the question I was going to ask you next, but now everybody can actually answer about this. Okay, what was it like to actually have the experience of having your own panel at STLV this year for the first time? I'll start with Jen. How did you feel? Like what was going through your mind?
So, I've been a lifelong Star Trek fan. I mean, I talked about my business partner being like the ultimate Star Trek fan, but I mean, I grew up with the original series. Like my first role models were the Orion slave girls. Not a good role model, but Brad, Deanna Troy, way better role model. But I mean, going back, I grew up with Captain Kirk, and then I've been a Star Trek fan my whole life. I mean, and as just one of the people that, is literally in the background, we're in the front, we're on the bridge, trying to blow things up from the engineering station when commanded to do so. And it was so much fun. It was the best time of my life. But never in a million years did I think anybody would ever be like, hey, we care about you guys too. That if you get a chance to actually go to a convention and speak on a panel, I mean, totally astounded, so grateful to Duncan for putting this together, so shocked that it was going to happen, and there's a lot of people in my life, because it's been a while, who are like, hey, you know you're on Star Trek, and I'm like, yeah, it was kind of a big deal. It was like kind of one of the best times of my life. Like, it was such a special place to be, and I ended up working in the film industry for 3 decades, never had an experience like I had working on the Star Trek show with those crew members, some of them have been there 20 years, all of, just the whole family and the whole history of it. But so to be honored in that way, to be able to be on a panel at a convention was huge, because I just never thought in a million years. That was like a dream come true. So thank you, Duncan.
My pleasure.
Oh yeah, I can only imagine. So it was, that would be so much fun to be on there. So John, what did you think?
Well, when Duncan first brought up the idea of getting together in Vegas, I was like, yeah, actually, because Star Trek did mean so much to me. I hadn't thought about it in a long time. I actually left the industry about 8 years ago. Leaving Hollywood, was kind of a hard thing for me, because that's really the only thing I've really loved doing my entire life. So when he first brought it up, I'm like, yeah, you know what? Actually, I think I would like to go to Vegas and just interact with people. And at the time when he had mentioned about maybe doing a panel, my first thought was, well, who am I? I don't have anything interesting to say. I was just there, and it was a big deal to me, but I don't know how other people feel about it. And if they want to hear, things I'd say, I'm like, I think I told Duncan, I don't remember a lot of this stuff. I don't have any stories. And he's like, no, you have stories. Start thinking about experiences that no one else has heard of, that you were there, that you witnessed, that no one else talks about. And so slowly I started saying to myself, I do have some really good stories, and it was an amazing time. And if there's maybe a panel that we can come together on and just tell some stories about how much it meant to us to be on that show. And this is something that no one else knows about, but this happened. I started getting more into it, and I was just so happy to be there. I couldn't believe it was actually happening. It was one of these things where it was almost surreal, where I'm like, I can't believe that we are at a Star Trek convention, STLV. We're going to be part of a panel where people are listening to what we have to say. It was a dream come true. It was a little bit nerve-wracking, I have to say it, because the very first question Duncan throws at me, to answer, and it threw me off a little bit. But you know what? Right after that, it became so comfortable. I just wish we had a little bit more time, or a lot more time, because there are just so many things that we each, would like to talk about and discuss. But being there, being at STLV, being on a panel I could not have imagined this ever. You know, if you had told me 6 months ago you're going to be a STLV on a panel talking about your days on Star Trek, I'd be like, no, you're nuts. You know, I don't know what you're smoking, but it turned out to be fantastic. It could not have gone better. That was one of the most amazing experiences, being on that panel and just being in Vegas with the people I've worked with, you know, on Enterprise. These people, some of them I've not seen in 20 years. And it was like, I remember we had a lunch right before the panel started. And I said, you know what, being together with you guys, it's almost like we just wrapped one season and we're getting ready to start the next season. It felt like no time had gone by. And it was just a very wonderful, emotional experience for me. I loved every minute of it.
Oh, that's so awesome.
Yeah.
How about you, Evan?
Oh boy. Well, I had done the conventions like in 2016, I think, 2017, and 18 and 19. I think I did the conventions during those years. Someone had given me a call or suggested it and put me in touch with somebody at Creation. And I ended up getting an agent for it, and ended up, I think the first one I did was in another state. I think it was in Boston. And then, it kind of just went from there. And this agent that I had kind of booked me in various conventions around the country. And I think I did one in San. I was living in LA at the time. I did one in San Francisco. I did the one in Seattle. I did the one in Boston again. And just, I think there was another one in North Carolina. So I had just done a few of these, and whenever I would do the one in Las Vegas, I would always be like, oh, wow, wouldn't it be cool to do one of those panels? And they never asked me. They had given me a table, set me up, and everything, and I had to get all my photos from the show that was done by the set photographer Ron Toms, approved by CBS and Paramount, and so I had gone through all that process, but and they had like sort of advertised me at the convention, at the various conventions, and I was on the website and everything, but no one ever asked me to do a panel, so I was always like, wow, that would be so cool to be able to go up there. I have so many experiences to talk about, and it just never came to pass. So, Duncan had approached me, I think months ago, right, Duncan? I can't remember actually when Glenn called me first and talked to me about joining Letter Decks. And he said, yeah, you really, you ought to come and join us and, and see what Duncan's doing. Let me put you in touch with him. And so Duncan and I then spoke. And so it was already sort of, taking shape. And, at that point, there was no panel, nothing like that. We were just going to get together and, meet some fans and that type of thing. And when the panel, all of a sudden, he told us that they had asked him to do a panel with all of us, I was blown away. I was so thrilled. Really, honestly, it was so great to be able to see everybody again. Again, it's been like 20 years since the show ended, so it was such a great reunion. And there's still so many that we haven't gotten together with or haven't seen, but. And it was just a wonderful experience, and to be able to connect with fans on that level and share our experiences, and just there's so much love around Star Trek. There's so much admiration for, and they the fans really dig all these little details that we experienced. Maybe to all of us it wasn't a big deal, or we have forgotten most of it by now, but all those little experiences that we had, all those little things we had to do, like I did the first, modeling of one of the uniforms on Enterprise, and they had, the costume department had taken pictures, and it's the first time they had seen it on anyone. And just little things like that, fans love to hear, anything, any of those minute details that we don't think might be a big deal, they find really interesting. So it's really great to share it with them, connect with them, and share in their appreciation for the series. Star Trek is like nothing else. It's got this amazing loyal following, and it really doesn't die. It goes on forever, and there's still shows now that are being made, and it just continues and continues, and it's really an amazing franchise to be a part of. It's really like nothing else.
Oh, it is. It's an amazing franchise. I mean, gosh. And Glenn, how would you? I know. I mean, luckily, I got to visit with you and Duncan quite a bit at STLV. So, but what was your experience? Just like when he said, "Hey, we're gonna have a panel," were you like, "Are you out of your mind?"
Oh, I was blown away. I mean, I could see in the text that Duncan sent right away his excitement, and I was excited right away too. He was like, "The whole thing's done."
The all caps was probably a big giveaway, right? Like, oh my God, Glenn, we got a panel.
That day it was in the morning, and I didn't come down from that all day. It was just an amazing day. It was just wow, I couldn't believe it because we'd done these conventions, these three. I mean, I'd done the one in Victoria, and they were not dedicated Star Trek conventions, and so doing a dedicated Star Trek was a different story. I mean, it would because obviously they were all interested in just Trek, and people have their favorites, but as you say, Star Trek people are unique and very loving, and they want to know. I was blown away by the interest. It was humbling and gratifying at the same time, just to hear. I mean, so many people say, yeah, we want to hear this. We're excited to hear these background stories, and we're excited for you. We're excited that you were on the show, and chatting with some of the cast members too, like Anthony Montgomery was really encouraging about the thing. And he was telling me, this is, you're on your way here, and this is you got to really be you got to appreciate the fans because they're the ones who put you where you are, their adoration, and but being a fan at the same time, and I think that's what is unique about our group is that all of us are fans of the show and get to interact with other fans of the show and tell our stories of what it's like to achieve that once of a lifetime dream of being on a Star Trek show, being involved in the franchise and becoming a part of the family, because it does feel like family, that's for sure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Don't forget, John Billingsley actually came to the panel, and him and his wife heckled us while we were up there, and it was great because he was giving us a hard time.
Fantastic!
So much fun to have him there.
So
John Billingsley for showing up at our panel.
Oh, that's so funny. So John crashed your panel as well.
Yes, he crashed every Enterprise.
Did you see him crash?
Yeah, I did, and I know we did, and that was because he was probably the reason why I didn't get to ask my question.
You were up
because there was one person in front of me, and then John was on the other side, and he did his thing, and so then they let the gentleman in front of me who wanted to get Scott's wife's autographs.
Yes, which he is going to do.
Oh, he's going to do. Yeah. And then they're like, that's it. We're done. I was like, are you right there? Oh, my God.
Your degrees of separation from Scott Bakula are thinning rapidly.
I was about to say, you are correct. They have gotten.
Maybe you'll just ask him that sometime.
Yeah.
Who else of us was there for Scott's panel? For Scott's presentation? Okay, and just Glenn. Okay, how was it? Was it good?
Really good.
It was good.
Was it good?
Yes.
And this was his first creation in like
2016.
Yeah. Okay, I was going to say, I think I only saw him the last time I during that peried when I was doing the conventions.
Yeah.
He was there once.
Yeah.
And I remember him and say hello, and my shock and amazement, he remembered.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, he said 2016 was his last one he'd been at, and so
yeah.
But he did say
Yes, we
Wow.
that they're coming back next year.
Oh wow!
Good.
Great.
Yay.
That's
Glad to
awesome.
hear that.
25th anniversary. So
Are-
Yeah.
Isn't there also a rumor
Yeah,
of
we
him doing a
that.
new series?
yes,
Mhm.
And you
There's
start.
definitely been spitballing it from what he said.
Yes.
yes.
So,
Well,
you know,
Yes.
Michael
nothing in
Sussman,
stone, but they've been working out
Hmm.
a
yeah,
storyline and a
Yep.
idea.
Sussman's who brought it to him, and they've been, like
Right.
Allison said, they've been just conversing. Nothing official.
Never know, guys. Hey, we all might be back in business.
That's right.
I've got
I
ideas.
know.
I've got ideas
I
where
know.
Yes,
we're
please.
all
I can
like
move
doing
my
the
ghost a lot
like
faster.
Firefly thing. All of us like small characters,
Yeah.
like fooling around the galaxy, just doing crazy stuff.
Okay. Just got to explain this.
Larry. Yeah. Okay, that's a great picture. So we were filming Zero Hour, which was like the Zindi sphere room where Archer was there and he was going to, stop it once and for all, blow up the sphere room. And so this was on stage 9 at Paramount, and I was there in my full Zindi, garb. And at one point, and the set was just beautiful. It was a beautiful set they had built. And so at one point we were taking a break, and David Trotty had come up to me and said, "Hey, there's this guy, Larry Nemecek, who, if you're interested, he'd like to talk to you a little bit about, your time on Star Trek and being a Zindi." And I'm like, "Sure." And I think Larry was editor of
StarTrek.com.
yes. And so, and I didn't know this. I didn't know his history before I met him. But so he's like, "Hey, can I just ask you some questions?" I said, "Sure." So we just started talking, and I think he was there with his assistant Melissa at the time also. And I just started talking about my time, doing Enterprise up to that point, being Starfleet, doing the alien stuff. And he's like, "Describe what, you're doing now." I'm like, "This is, Zindi Reptilian." And we just talked for a few minutes. He said, "Hey, can I get a couple pictures?" So this was one of the pictures that we took where, I'm supposed to be attacking him. I didn't know him at the time, so I didn't really go full on throttle with the strangle, but yeah. And if you look closely in this picture, I think I put this on my Instagram that I'm not wearing the cat eyes. And interesting thing about the cat eye contacts that we had is that we'd be fitted for these contacts. And as we were filming, I think the first time I'd worn them was Rajin, the episode Rajin. And as we were filming, the contacts were supposed to be going straight up and down. It was my right one slowly started tilting. Yeah. And so like in between takes, they'd have to bring the contact lens tech, and she'd put her hand, like her finger on my eye and say, "Okay, adjust."
Oh.
Perfect. Yeah. Well, you know what? I wear contacts anyway, so I'm used to touching my own eye. But she would adjust it till it was perfect. Okay, great, pictures up, let's film it. And so that was just a little side note. But yeah, in this picture, I'm not wearing the contacts, but it was such a great experience. Larry is the ultimate in Star Trek knowledge, and just getting to know him after the fact has just been so enjoyable. And again, this picture was just a fun picture. We met for the first time, and it was just overall a great experience. Loved it. And I love Larry because he's so knowledgeable.
Was Larry also the editor of The Communicator, or one of the
Yes,
editors?
that's what it was. Yes, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ah,
Yes, you have a good memory. Yes, that's true. That's what it was also.
so that's how I ended up in that. I actually ended up several times in The Communicator magazine, and it must have been thanks to Larry. I don't know.
I think there's
maybe
another
just-
photo. There's another photo of myself and Larry from that same day.
Yes.
And we're just standing face to face and talking, and that was actually in the issue as well. The issue as well.
I have the other photo. I just can only put, so it only let me
That's
load
okay.
10. I was like, dang it. And
Get better
so-
stream.
It's still a great photo. I still, and it was a great experience, and it was, just to meet Larry, right there, the Star Trek, the guru of Star Trek was just
Dr. Trek.
fantastic. And I had no idea at the time, but after I learned who he was later, I'm like, wow, that was a big deal for me as a fan, of Star Trek in general.
Yeah. Big time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Larry, I've gotten to meet Larry now, as a lot of us have, and he's just so great
He's so knowledgeable.
to work with. Oh my
Oh,
God.
yeah.
Yes.
And
He knows.
energetic, and he loves Star Trek. He loves talking about Star Trek, and people love talking to him about Star Trek. I do.
Yay.
That's the other picture that when we first met, and David Trouty took these pictures, and I'm so grateful to David Trouty because at the time, there was no way for us to bring cameras on set to get pictures of this stuff. It was just a big no-no. But David Trouty would take these pictures, and this is one that wound up in the magazine. And then, Trotty gave me copies of them, and I love this picture. This is absolutely one of my favorite pictures ever from Star Trek, just because I'm in the Xindi uniform. I'm talking to Larry. It's, we're having kind of like a deep conversation at this point, but I love this photograph. It's one of my favorite ever.
It's a great photo. Oh man.
Oh, it was fantastic. Stage 9 Paramount Pictures. It's great. I remember it so well.
All right. So next one I'm going to do is for Jen. I know you've got a story with Marina.
As a young woman growing up, Star Trek provided some of the most amazing female role models. I made the joke about the green girl, the Ryan slave girls, like earlier, but truly, like
Mhm.
from the original Star Trek. Oh no, I've just been reading Ursula Le Guin, and so all I can think of is the name Ursula. Help me out.
Uhura.
Uhura.
Uhura
Oh my
original.
God.
Right.
Yes. So, really, as a young girl growing up, one of my first heroes was this like beautiful black woman, that had an important position on a starship. That's huge. And Star Trek always included women in very important positions, and
Mhm.
that was just that. It was so important to me as a young woman growing up, and I fell in love with the character of Deanna Troy, and even the fact that they had kind of, she was a therapist, but she was very spiritual, and how she helped communicate and her levels of empathy and her, use of nonviolent communication and all of this. These are all things that I ended up going back to grad school one day to study. And, now as, a retired Starfleet, member, I now do a lot of what Deanna Troy would have done. I work with people who've had trauma. I coach in nonviolent communication. I work with people on empathy. I work with people who've had trauma. Um, I run a retreat center out in the middle of nowhere that, is almost like about as close to terraforming as you can get, because I am in the middle of the desert. And so we're having to like really build up so that it supports everything that we need right here.
Mhm.
So it's kind of fun. It's kind of like playing like I'm on Mars every day. Um, but I'm
That's
just
great.
grateful. So this opportunity to actually meet her and get this photo with her was a huge day for me. And,
Mhm.
at some point I'd love to be able to tell her, to meet her again and say, hey, like you really inspired, helped inspire me down the path I'm on
Mhm.
now beyond Star Trek.
Oh
So
yeah.
yeah, it was great.
Well, and that's like I have another person. Her name is Linda, and she's been starting to host with us, and she's 20, and her Kate Mulgrew, Janeway. That was her person. For her Star Trek, because of how strong of a role model, you know, Captain Janeway is for women out there. I mean, I don't know how many of y'all were out stayed for the Voyager panel, but oh my god,
No,
Kate Mulgrew,
no.
she is the captain. Period. End of story.
Oh,
It was a
I
great
love
panel.
that show. I love Voyager. I love all the shows. But like I was mentioned earlier, Voyager was the one I interviewed for before Enterprise, and I still love Voyager. So I'm
Hmm.
sorry I missed that panel.
Oh, it was great.
It was lovely. There was a little girl who came up and was like, "I'm going to be an electrical engineer because of you and Janeway," and like the audience is trying to not cry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
They're
yeah.
trying to not cry. It was beautiful.
Well, because Kate called her,
Wow.
said, "You get up here, young lady." She made her get on the stage. It
Yeah, she has to be
was,
on main stage. It was amazing.
oh yeah, it was
Little
amazing.
10-year-old girl.
So sweet.
Yeah, it was great.
Oh,
Okay, the
Oh
motion
yeah,
capture.
Evan.
I wondered about that. I didn't realize that they actually had motion captured those. I was thinking they were. I don't know. I did not realize that.
yeah, they did, and that was fun. Getting having to get stuck in that suit for, I think it was like a week that
Oh,
I had to be in that. That was a lot of fun, actually. Honestly, that was the most I had ever gotten to do on the show in one stretch. And
Mhm.
I got to be on a panel with 5 other actors who are, mostly theater actors. And I had, gosh, I think there was 6 pages of dialogue that I memorized or I had to memorize. And it was really cool. I mean, it was fun to be one of the bad guys and get in there with all the other bad guys and interact with them. And they had the Zindi Sloth, the
Yeah.
Zindi Aquatic, they had they had all kinds of Zindi. And it was fun. It was just a really great, fun storyline. And the set was really cool. And, it was just fun to be bad.
Mhm.
And that's cool. But you know what's cooler is that was in the Communicator magazine. But this
Yeah.
also, I don't know if you can see this. You might want to expand the pen.
Okay, hold on here.
But this is also the Star Trek Communicator, and this is like the first time I've ever been in a magazine. And
Oh yeah. Yeah.
and I said to Scott on the set, I brought this into set, and I go, hey Scott, I said, check it out. I said, I'm in a magazine. I'm in one of the Star Trek magazines. And he goes, really? I said, yeah. I said, come check it out. He walked over to the desk where I was sitting on the bridge, and he goes, where are you? I said, look, I'm right here. Here, hey, check it out. Where are you? Where are you? No one could see me next to her. She's like,
Very true.
it was fun. Yeah, that was fun.
I was actually gonna have another picture of Jen's. I was going to load real quick, just because I like him and he's a cool dude.
Oh,
This was
And it was
Anthony
just
Montgomery.
oh yeah. It was so much fun being on the bridge. I don't remember who snapped that picture. I guess it would have been Ron Tom. That looks like
Mm-hmm.
one of his photos. But yeah, yep, that
Or David Trotty.
or David Trotty. No, I think this it could have been a David Trotty photo, but it felt like who knows. I'm not sure. I don't know if this is one that we can get sanctioned to use at conventions or not, but it's up to find out.
Yeah, I'm sure they would approve that.
The cast members, the leads of the show, they weren't standoffish people. It would be like this, like stuff's going on the set, you're standing and people are moving around. It's like, hey, let's get a photo. And it's not like he would like brush his hand off me and go, don't touch me next time. Some sets are different. And some sets you're on, you don't dare interact with the leads. You don't dare make eye contact with them. You don't talk to them. But Star Trek was just different. It was like we were all part of the crew. And it was just such a special environment. And I think photos like that just kind of demonstrate it's like fine for you just to like throw your arm around somebody and smile, and it's not, nobody's going to freak out. So this was great. It's such a different vibe. It's even hard to explain to people in Hollywood because I would tell friends, I'd have friends that worked on other shows for, entire like 6-7 year runs. And I would have gone to be on those shows at some point too. And I would see what it's like. And I'm just like, I don't know how to tell them it's not the same. It's just not the same as Star Trek, so. Yeah.
I mean, I think from Duncan and from Connor and Dom and even John Billingsley, even though he loves to give Scott a hard time, is that, Scott, he stayed, he shook everybody's hand. He was the first one there, last one to leave. He was the captain of the show, and he acted like it, but he wasn't, like you said, he was not, even at SLV, he was not standoffish at all. He was, oh my God, because I got a photo op. I did the photo op with him, and he was just, you could tell he was shocked. He could not believe how many people were there for him. That's one of the reasons I was questioned about going. Column, I was like, okay, I was going because of Column initially. Then when he canceled, I immediately bought that Scott. So they couldn't have gotten that $300 out of me any faster. Like,
Oh, because you got the
I
autograph.
did the autograph and the photo op, and like when that was on, I didn't care. Here's my credit card. You hate my money, creation. I did not flinch. Now, unfortunately, we didn't get the autograph.
He does seem like a wonderful number one on the call sheet. So
He
that
really set the
Yeah.
tone on the show, and he was professional. The guy never missed a line. I mean, I don't know. I was there almost every day of filming for the entire series. You know, maybe there was like 10 days out of the 4 years when I wasn't there. I never saw him miss a line. Maybe he would say line, you know, like once in a great while, as a supervisor. But that is amazing to me. You know, especially with all the technical dialogue that you know they had, and to never miss that. I mean, you know, I once sat down with I was standing for Brent Spiner. I was his stand-in when he did that 3-episode arc on Enterprise. And I sat down with Brent. And I go, can I ask you a question? I go, how the heck did you memorize all that technical dialogue every day so frequently? And he goes, I knew. He said I could tell you a lot of things, but he said the truth is I knew it was going to make me a wealthy man. And that was a really honest answer, and I really appreciated that. And I'm like, hell yeah! I mean, you know, you get a gig like that, you do the work, you know, and you stay up all night.
Yeah, and if you can't show up for it.
And there were nights.
Wow, I can't believe he said that. That was great.
There were nights. Yeah, he was great. He was so funny. When we were standing around the set one time, and I think I was a few minutes late. It was after lunch, you know. We were coming back to the set to continue to finish the scene. He was playing Dr. Soom in that 3-arc episode. I don't know if you know, like the guy who created Data,
the augments and all that.
Yeah. Exactly. And I was a few minutes late. And he said, "Oh, Evan was late. Evan's fired. Everybody's fired." So, you know, everyone's showing up back on the set. And, you know, he's and I'm fired.
Oh my god, that's so fun.
Mortified. Yeah. Seriously, I was like seriously nervous, but he was a real joke.
I can see that. Yeah. I haven't really gotten to meet him a lot, but I can see that. I mean, he seems like a jokester. He seems I could almost feel like, you know, him and Garrett Wong, because Garrett liked to, you know, he was always the funny one. I mean, he kind of, I think, joked around on the set and Voyager and everything. So, oh my god. So
I didn't work on that show, so I don't know. But yeah, that's cool.
And so here's another picture real quick. I like Andorians, so that's why I chose this one.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
There's Mr. Glenn.
Yeah, that was that's where he got his antenna cut off by Archer, but it grew back.
Oh yeah, I didn't even catch that until just you said that.
The fight
scene. So were those antenna, were they loud when they would move them?
Yeah. You could. There were 3 of them. So if for those who didn't know, they were operated by puppeteers who got a day player contract to operate the antenna. So there would be a robotic piece underneath the wig, and you could definitely, and they were operated off screen by the puppeteers with RC controls, just like you'd see on a plane or a helicopter or whatever. And you'd hear them, but they were also very uncomfortable, and they would create pressure points on the skull, and then I know that I was in a lot of pain sometimes wearing those things, and I would look forward to, because there were only 3 units like that. So the days that there may have been other people, if I didn't actually have to wear the robotic piece, it was a blessing, because it wasn't much fun wearing them. But I think they elicited quite the performance out of Jeffrey, for sure, because he was uncomfortable. Eventually, they ended up putting some padding underneath, but it never quite was right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I did not know that about the pressure points and all that stuff. Always learning something with this channel. Oh my gosh.
Glenn, now you know what high heels feels like. Walking in high heels. There you
But
Nothing
it
but
was
Yep.
pressure points.
it's Billy
Pain.
Crystal. Billy Crystal's character, or the Fernand, what was his on Saturday Night Live? He would say, "It is better to look good than to feel good."
Yeah.
Hmm.
It's the result, right?
Hmm. Um, and I'm going to do two more, but so I'm not sure. This is one he sent me. What was this at? What was this for?
Last day of
Does anybody
filming.
remember this picture?
Wasn't this the
Yep.
very last day of
That was the
filming
last
of
day.
like the last episode? And this is the main stand-ins. You have
Hmm.
the stand-in for Anthony Montgomery, David Anderson. You have Richard Starstead, who stood in for Scott Bakula, Jeff Ayers, who stood in for
Okay.
myself. You've got JR. And so hopefully we can get some of these other guys on these panels too. They'd be great.
Yeah.
Jared Jonas, there's
Yeah.
Cricket, there's
We've got
Devin.
JR and David
Yeah.
winning.
Mm. Yeah, that'd be cool to get, especially to get you get all these, wrangle them all up at some time again. Um, Man, and bring them to the convention next year.
We could do so many themed
Yeah.
panels. Like we could have a whole panel that's just stand-ins.
Hmm.
We could have a whole panel that is people who did, aliens all the time. We could do one with the stunt people. And then you get into like any of the crew departments. All those people would have interesting stories. Like there's just so much untapped stuff. And I know like the on-screen folks get the most attention because, you're looking at them. And people, you feel a connection with the people that you've gotten to know as characters over time. But I feel like, at the beginning of our panel, and I wish we had gotten a whole video of it, which we didn't, but Larry was like made a big thing about saying this is a historic event. And it's because apparently there's never been a panel of background actors who have, just been at a convention at all. And I hope this starts a trend, of that kind of thing. But yeah, man, we could watch Letter Decks bring like 30 people for 6 panels or something, next year.
I like that idea.
Stunt.
Yes.
I mean, aliens, so many options. And as a fan, I think we all like wanted to be you guys because you were on the ship with them every day. And that's what we wanted to do. I didn't want to, I didn't have to go star in a show. I just wanted to be on the bridge and go see it and walk around and like, the captain something. Like, that's what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
you guys got to do that. So a lot
Same.
of us were like super jealous. Like, that's what I wanted to do.
I know.
Right. And that's like Letter Decks is unique that way because we're all fans. And it's when we have conversations with other fans, it's like, guys, I got to be on the show. Let me tell you about it.
And like being on the set.
Absolutely.
Oh, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. I'm sorry. But and like you
Oh,
said,
no, go
being
ahead.
on the set. Going back to that for a second, the way that set is designed, so much of it is like you're really on a ship. I mean, the floor is done, the walls are done, the ceiling is done. A lot of Hollywood sets, concrete floor, you see up to the rafters. You've got some nice walls here and there, but it's not a fluid, continuous built. I mean, there were parts of that ship that you just felt like you were on the ship. Like when we're sitting in the mess hall, and they've got the star screen outside, which is like velvet with sparkles on it, right? But we're sitting, but we're all sitting there, and we're all eating and whatever's going on. But you actually feel like you're on a starship floating through space because it's fully contained. Or like the crew like our crew quarters, they actually had those built too. You didn't see them often. They have bunk beds, and if you're really tired during lunch, we'd go sleep in the crew quarters. I mean, it was just
Really?
being on the ship.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
All the lighting guys and the grips used to take naps at sick bay. Sick bay was on stage 9.
Oh, right.
Was it stage 9?
8. It was 8. It was the medical,
Stage
the medical beds, right? Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
medical beds, yeah. Everyone I knew, all the guys I knew at lunchtime like Bobo. You remember
Yeah.
Bobo?
Oh yeah.
He was taking a nap. Yeah.
Rock would do that on the promenade too. Like
Oh,
if they
yeah?
weren't shooting, he's like, "Oh, I could go hang out here and have a moment alone, or take a nap, or whatever." So he would do that on his set.
Yeah.
Oh, that is too funny.
Yeah.
But I like your idea though about what you're saying because, you know, makeup artists, hair, you know, all the basically everybody hair and makeup, you know, they don't really get, and they may not want it, obviously, but still, you know, they don't. I mean, they're the ones that are there before the actors get there to get ready, so that especially when you've got to do like a full prosthetic, you know, like a Zindi or an Andorian. I mean, you're sitting there for how long did it take, Glenn? How long does it take to get into your Andorian when you were doing that, or even Vulcans, you know, to get your makeup done?
Andorians was about 4 hours, if I remember. Vulcans was a little less, a couple of hours for that, just the ears, eyebrows. But yeah, it's sitting there a long time, and it helps if you can be the kind of person who can sit still and not be fidgety or not complain about.
Oh God, I can't. Yeah, no, I can't imagine. I mean, I've heard other people say they're in the chair for 8 hours, you know, and I've heard Armin talk about, you know, his Ferengi makeup. There'd be days, you know, like they take it off, and it was just full of sweat.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. We've all done that. I think here we've all done an alien. Like I was a Klingon one episode, you know, and you know, Glenn's the expert, but Jen, you did alien. Yeah, Jen was a sphere. Weren't you one of the sphere builders, Jen?
And that was like the.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I don't know if the Zindi had the makeup that you couldn't take off. We actually had makeup on our hands you couldn't remove, so you couldn't do anything. Once you were dressed, that was it. You couldn't feed yourself. You couldn't do anything. And the costumes were so tight you couldn't even sit down. They had like leaning boards. But not only did it take about 5 to 6 hours to put on, but because they had to reuse the prosthetic, it took like 3 hours or more to get it off. And we're talking using chemicals like to loosen it from your skin. So like, you know, in the famous words of Brent Spiner, this is making me a lot of money because we were on big SAG contracts, but when you got into overtime, and if you're on that set for like 16, 18, 20 hours, if you're in that kind of makeup, boy, that's when you actually, those are some nice little extra paychecks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I was 21
I
hours on an Angel episode in vampire makeup once. That was the biggest check I ever had. In the whole
Wow.
It's big, yeah.
Wow.
Did you go and like
that was quite
sleep?
the makeup
It wasn't very involved, and I got some teeth out of the deal, but
Oh my
that
God.
was a long day.
Oh, and I liked Angel.
Talk about golden time.
Wow. I can't fathom being in that makeup for that long. And then, holy moly. No, I'm good.
Fun little studio fact. Angel's primary location stage was, I think, stage 20, and it was in the same street as 8, 9, and 18, where Star Trek shot. Like you could just walk down. It's like 50,
Stage
75 yards.
5 next door they shot as well, right next door to 8, I think. But yeah.
Okay.
Oh wow.
Yep.
And then they were shooting Charmed during Enterprise too, right? That show Charmed.
Oh my goodness. So I'm just gonna. I'm not to the last question yet, but I'm going to actually probably change up my last question for a change instead of what I normally do because I don't know. I just kind of want to for this panel. But before I ask you your question, the last thing is like, you know, just do you have any of y'all just have any stories or you know something that you didn't get to share at at STLV that you just like to, you know, that you thought about like, dang, I should have said that, but so now is your time to do that. So if anybody has something, you know, just share away.
So Good suggestion. I honestly, I don't think I got to talk that long. I have a whole bunch of stories I didn't get to share, but um, you know, uh, it was just an amazing experience working on the show. I mean, and getting to know all the actors and living that life. And when you work on a show like that, you're doing it for 16 hours a day. You can be, and so you don't have time for much else.
Mhm.
So Star Trek is really for all of us our whole life, and um, we were very much like a family.
I have a story.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but
No. Go ahead.
yeah. Well, so I was mostly background, and I got named Ensign Walsh on 2 separate episodes. But on a different episode, I had a speaking part, and my name on that was crewman number 2. That's a Hollywood contract thing. When you're a day player, you don't get like a real name. So funny how that worked. But during that, it was a fight scene in engineering, and it was on Bound, the one with the trio of Orion women who were affecting everyone on the ship. So everyone's like high tension, and Trip and T'Pol are talking, and then someone tries to touch my tools, and I grab them and I yell at him and I throw them against a wall, and then Trip comes and breaks it up and then sends me away. Right. So like, you don't realize how much goes into shooting such a simple moment. Like it wasn't even the whole scene that happened in that, because they followed them and tracked around the other side of the engine and everything. But even just that took 2 or 3 hours and like 4 camera angles plus steady cam. And I can't tell you how many times we did the action. We ended up like wearing little pads, stump pads underneath the guy, where I would throw him up against there. And I had one, I think, on my chest from where he would grab me here. I had bruises still. But the best thing about that is that day is that the director gave me his copy of the dailies from that episode. And just so happens there is a blooper on there that's pretty funny with Connor.
Uh-oh.
And I'll dig this up at some point. But first, Connor, is notorious for forgetting the technical words, right? I don't think that's a secret. But he had such a hard time. Like, they would have bets on set for how many takes it would require for him to do that. And it wasn't just him. I seem to remember Anthony having a similar problem. So it would go like back and forth, right? But on this particular occasion, it was like 3rd or 4th time in this one camera angle, and it was the intense part where he's like, "Now go have Massaro with the injectors," to me, right? And he couldn't quite get injectors out. Like, "Go have Massaro with the," and he just jokingly just like threw a stage punch and just went boom, and I just kind of went with it and spun around and like fell down, and it was on the daily, so I have that.
Oh, nice.
It was a fun moment. That's my story. One of them.
Jen, did you have anything?
I feel really bad. I have a story, but I have to plug in my computer real quick because I wasn't thinking like, oh,
Okay.
gee, I should have my computer plugged in, and it just said low battery. So somebody else tell a story. I'll be right back.
All right, Glenn.
I
Go.
got a story for you. One day I came in. It was an early call, 6 a.m. You had to be on set, and Dominic was in this scene with an actor by the name of Clancy Brown, who, in my mind, is the most famous for being the baddie on Highlander.
Kurgan.
And I don't know if any of you guys are a fan of the Highlander series, especially that first movie. For me, was like a huge deal. So there was a scene with Clancy Brown, Dominic, and I think it was Jolene. I'm not sure. Dominic was MIA, nowhere to be found. So the producers came and asked me, "Are you okay running the scene with Clancy?" And I'm like, "I'm there." I was really into it because I'm a huge Clancy Brown fan. So they sort of stuck us in this. I think it was in engineering, or they walked into engineering, and they walked down a hallway, and it was a walk and talk. So I had like literally 10 minutes to try to get down 2 pages of dialogue and just basically memorize it. And by the time we had run it twice, I was off book, meaning I had memorized it. and I got to do this really cool scene with Clancy Brown. And it was this great walk and talk, and it was just kind of like when he was arriving to the ship. And I think we meet him at the airlock, and we walk him, down the hallway and into engineering. We were showing him and he was playing an alien. It's just really cool experience that I remembered, and I basically, ran the entire scene, did the rehearsal, and then set up lighting, and then eventually Dominic did show up and did the scene. But it was a real treat, and it was a lot of fun getting to know him in that way. Very cool.
That sounds really cool. I mean,
One.
oh, and what would have happened if Dom didn't show up? Would they just let you do it?
I don't know. Maybe. Never know.
Oh God.
I don't think they had the CGI face.
Yeah.
Stuff back then.
No.
It's probably
With that, I mean, we all remember Face Off.
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Oh my God. Glenn, do you got anything? Do you want any story that you didn't share at the panel?
There's an interesting little scene that ended up in a behind the scenes on the DVDs.
Okay.
It's I can't remember the episode, but there's a scene where Connor Tripp is running down a corridor, and I'm trying to come through the corridor and almost collide with him. Well, we did that scene a bunch of times, a bunch of takes, and actually I did collide with him in one take. But the part that ended up on the fun bit on the extra scenes was we did the scene. Connor ran down the corridor. I went through I'm trying to pass. I'm just waiting for Connor to go past so that he can zip down, and then suddenly one crew member goes past, and then another, and then another, and then I'm standing there trying to get across, and all the crew, but one by one, is going down the corridor, and then finally Chacho, our craft services guy, is trundling down the corridor. Hey, wait for me! That was fun.
That's hilarious.
Oh, that is hilarious.
Chacho, he was
Oh my God.
Fine.
All right, Jen, you've got power again, right?
I got power, so you're not gonna lose me.
Awesome.
So there's a lot of times where actors if they weren't there for some reason, and sometimes it's not their fault because they're like in makeup or hair, or sometimes something's going on, they're not getting set on time, or maybe they had some other audition or something, but it always set them up for stuff to happen, right? And the crew was they were such jokesters, and there was one time that Jolene wasn't there for whatever reason, right? And so they, like with Evan, they had me running the dialogue for the scene, but I had just gotten off a flight from South Africa the day before. I had been traveling for 24 hours. I had insane jet lag, and this shoot was I'm sitting there and I'm stumbling so bad. Like, I can hardly get the words out. I'm like, blah, 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 blah. And there's big pauses when I'm supposed to come in. And at the end of it, Dominic looks at me and goes, "Oh my God, that was just awful." But the actors, it was all always in good fun, right? But this is just jokesters, and you had to be able to take a joke, and people were always poking fun at each other.
awesome.
Well, I know John was he would be a jokester when he was on set as well, and he always, from what he told me, he would always mess with Dominic all the time when he could, big time. And
did he tell you about the song he used to sing?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He's
worked 2 days and the check still
he
comes.
sang it on our interview. I asked him about it. He sang it on our interview. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it was fun. Oh gosh.
He's great.
Okay. So it's gonna kill me to not jazz my music, but I'm gonna spare y'all the one question I was thinking about asking, but I'm gonna ask, what is each of your favorite Enterprise episode? And we'll start with Duncan.
Okay. I might have talked about this on the other one, but I'm going to say the augments. It was the first one where they had the enhanced humans that Evan was talking about that Brent Spiner came on for. Um, I've been a martial arts enthusiast since I was like 14, and so you don't usually get really like intricate or hardcore fighting in a Star Trek show, and I was a fan of the original series movies, specifically original series cast movies, and then TNG, but it was not too complicated. So when that first scene came up where there's a shuttle that seems to be like barely able to hold it together, and a Klingon bird of prey comes and finds them, and it's two humans, beat them aboard, bring them here, and this two guys are just walking with these five Klingons, and they get trapped in a hallway, and then they just decide to stop, and one of the Klingons tries to hit him, he doesn't move, he just kind of looks around, and then they just like freaking lay into these guys, doing like legit like capoeira and kung fu and stuff, just like laying these Klingons flat. I was like, oh, that's freaking cool. I like that. I love that. Like that, just like really, yeah, really was a fun thing. Fun thing for me.
That's a good. I
Actually, it was that was the first one, Borderland, and that's the one where I got to do that Australian slide stunt down the railings, where I got beamed out halfway through.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
That's where we left off
it
on our
was.
last.
Yeah, we're still kind of leave off on that, I guess. So
I guess
they never went.
part 3.
Yeah. Glenn.
Well, that's mine.
Glenn.
Who else
One of the
is it?
reasons I stayed right till the end of the convention, and I really don't regret that. It was such a thrill. I'm glad I was there for the whole thing. But there was a little a panel on the Mirror episode on Sunday evening or Sunday afternoon, which I attended. Mike Sussman and David Livingston had done. I didn't know this when I hadn't seen the episode, but David Livingston had directed a Mirror episode on DS9. I didn't know that. Anyway, so it's a double episode, of course, parts 1 and 2. But I think that it was so well done, and it was a thrill for me to be a Vulcan in part 1 and an Andorian in part 2, and get to wear the flight suit as an Andorian and fly an NX class starship. That was really cool. But aside from that, it was just the episode was the throwback to the original series, of course. It was just brilliant the way they opened the credits or the opening titles with the scene from First Contact, and they actually used that actual scene and did a hand double thing for the blast off. But it was the way they made it look like the end of the episode was coming from the Mirror universe. It was brilliant. It was such a good episode all the way around. That'd have to be my choice.
That is a good one. Evan.
Yeah. So, this is definitely my favorite episode, which was In a Mirror Darkly.
Yep.
Yeah, it was a 2-part episode, and I got to do a cool little scene there. We all got to be bad and wear the bad hair and the bad uniforms, and the uniforms were different. The women had half shirts. The men had spiky hair, and it was cool. So we got to. I was in a scene in that one with Scott and all the main actors. Jolene, Linda, etc. And on the bridge when Scott kind of came in, actually I have a picture of it here, and
Yep.
it was very cool. And he kind of gives this speech, and he gets to be bad, and it's just so fun to be bad, because in Star Trek, it's usually this altruistic universe. Everything is idealistic, and the way kind of Gene Roddenberry set it up. So for us to be evil, to be bad, it was just a lot of fun to do. And Scott kind of comes in, gives this speech about how we're gonna kill and destroy and maim, and we all give him this salute at the end of the scene, and yeah, it was just pretty. It was pretty cool. yeah, it was just a lot of fun. It was different, and the show itself, the two series episodes, both episodes had a very different feel from all the previous episodes that we had done. So just a lot of fun.
Let me find that. Yeah, yeah, I had that one. I had to go load it up. and
Yeah.
and okay, Jen,
Okay,
do
there
you
was.
have a favorite episode?
I'm trying to remember. So I think it was a two-parter too. And did this also have to do with the mirror episode that Evan's talking about? It was called Damages, where they actually the bridge gets blown up. I think the episode was called Damages. I think.
No.
I'm trying to. Okay.
Because that was in Mirror Darkly and Mirror Darkly
Okay,
Part 2.
but there was which of the episodes was the bridge of the Enterprise just blown to pieces? Is it called Damages? Because this like never see, and the weird thing is this never happens on Star Trek. The bridge never takes like a bad direct hit, right? And so which one? Because I just remember that, yeah, the bridge is on fire.
Damage is the one where Enterprise's warp drive is down, and Captain Archer has. Yeah, is that the one where they?
I'm looking for it. I think I know which one you're talking about. I think it's
Damage. Yeah,
Because I'm
yes.
season 3, episode
because I
19.
remember it's like literally like Archer and I are trying to like carry another crewman off bridge, like people are injured. Like for me, that all of a sudden it got so real because usually, in Star Trek, you always everybody comes out of it unscathed most of the time, right? And this was one of those episodes where people were like down and injured and the bridge is on fire and like all this stuff is happening. And I feel bad. Now I have to go back and see exactly which one it was. But I don't know. That just.
Glenn, is that the one you were injured? Is that the one where Glenn has a big, basically bloody scar on the half?
No, that was
half of his
Connor,
face?
but
Wasn't that you, Glenn?
I had a plasma burn on
Yeah.
my arm in one episode. Yeah, that was
That's what I'm thinking of. Yeah, the plasma burn on your arm.
LeVar
What
directed
episode
it.
was
I
that?
can't remember the episode exactly.
Yeah.
But could that,
Yeah.
Okay.
But it was like.
pardon me?
Was Casey Biggs in it? Was Casey Biggs the guest star in it? Then it's Damage, the one I'm talking about.
Oh.
Okay, so this is going to be good.
I'm
This
looking
is where
too.
everybody
Well,
that's
we're all
watching
feeling
your
it's true.
podcast can be like chipping in and be like, it's that one. But there was just
Somebody
something
knows.
that
That's right.
that made it so
Yeah,
real. There was
somebody
like this.
knows.
There was this energy on set that was just like, holy crap! Like we're in trouble, and you don't get that a lot of times, on the show, and so it was just it was so different, and it was such a different feeling of like, we're trying to save each other, and we're, people are trying to put out fires, and this was also a long time ago, right? So I might not be remembering this all correctly, but I'm actually trying to find where to stream the whole.
To answer your question, yes, Casey Biggs was the guest star on Damage.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, okay, so this
See,
Good research, Evan.
good research. This will be your people that are watching the
Google
podcast.
search.
This will be the trivia for them to figure out what
homework. Oh, they'll know.
Yeah. You should make a little contest over it.
I know.
Chris. Like,
See,
Yeah.
in my
First
mind,
people on the
I'm
right.
thinking. I remember what it's. It's not E2, but it's
Oh, then it's the one in between, the Forgotten.
could be that. Because I remember the scene. Enterprise is being shot, and they finally show it's a space scene, and they actually show the bridge get blown off.
Yes.
And the bridge crew flies out into space.
And
I just don't remember what episode that is.
yeah, and the rest of us are like trying to save each other, and it's like
Is it
chaos.
Azadi?
It might be Azadi Prime before Damage.
Oh,
When
okay.
we were just going for when the damage happened.
Then it was
Right.
yes. I believe that was.
I don't. We'll look it up.
It's one of
Okay.
those
I'm
free
gonna say this. Live chat, tell us what it is.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Ask the
Yeah,
experts.
ask the experts. Oh my gosh, that's too funny.
Where can we stream
Oh,
it now?
well,
Where is Enterprise streaming now? Because I've been trying to find it.
Paramount Plus.
It is Paramount Plus right now. Okay.
Yeah, you can get on Paramount Plus. Mm-hmm.
You can also buy episodes on
Prime,
Amazon
yeah.
Okay.
Prime.
You
I
got four
alluded to
there.
the fact that I kind of followed in the footsteps of Deanna Troy and went and got a degree in ministry and spiritual direction. And I work with veterans and first responders and people that have basically come back from the front lines with existential crisis, with moral injury. So, there's PTSD, and then there's this kind of existential crisis that can happen where you return and your world is upside down, and your relationship with yourself, with your community, with your family, or with whatever is divine has kind of been destroyed. And I do retreat work with people to help counsel and help them through that journey. And I have a foundation called the Anderson-Arroyo Foundation. And yeah, we operate out of Arizona and provide, we're just getting set up now, but the intention is to provide free retreats for veterans, and then sliding scale retreats for other trauma survivors so that nobody's turned away. And yeah, so trying to give back.
That's a great.
Awesome.
Well, if you go to SonoranDesertSanctuary.com, or you look up Anderson-Arroyo Foundation, ARROYO Foundation, if you're on a journey of PTSD and moral injury and you're looking for support, you can find us at SonoranDesertSanctuary.com, or get in touch with this podcast and they can get you in touch with me. So, yeah.
All right. Last question. I was not going to skip it. All right. What piece of Star Trek technology do you wish existed today? Who wants to answer it first? Go.
The transporter. The transporter, man.
No.
Wouldn't that be cool?
Yes.
Jump in and go anywhere you want. You don't have to get on a plane or
Yes.
But you don't
spend 8
go
hours in a
anywhere.
car going somewhere.
You
Man,
get replaced with your replacement, which gets assembled at the other side after you've been destroyed. So I think McCoy is right on that. In his definition there. Anyway.
I know.
Okay.
Actually, Linda and I just did a video on transporters. Like, is it really you, or is it a duplicate that you've been destroyed and made it a duplicate? So.
But that wasn't the way it originally was created, right? I mean, the idea behind the transporter was that you would step
Correct.
in and it would be you
Yes.
on the other side. I like that version.
Me too. Okay, so everyone's a transporter. What's everybody else want?
I'm so remote. The property I'm on is in the middle of nowhere in Arizona. So yeah, I think we have a storm coming in, so the reception's kind of funky. But yes, a transporter would be really helpful because it takes me 2.5 to 3 hours to drive one way to the grocery store or to get to town to get supplies. So transporter would be super helpful, or shuttle pod, or. But honestly, I know you say one piece of technology, but I really wish humans had the capability to really go into space. And
It's coming.
that's kind of one of those things. And especially as I'm getting to the age where I'm getting, where, I'm in my 50s and I've set up this wonderful thing here, a part of me is like, wow, yeah, if I ever got the call where they said, well, we need like a chaplain, spiritual director person to like take that one-way journey, I'd have to say yes. I'd have to sign up for that because, you can't watch Star Trek and love Star Trek and dream about these things being possible and say no. Like that would be kind of a last journey of a lifetime type of thing would be to sign up for it. And so I just want it all to exist. Dang it.
Yeah, me too.
Oh. Ironically, I'm a large and principal investor in a lunar landing company. If you know anything about how space is operating these days, you know NASA is really not the entity that sends ships into space anymore. They subcontract that out to private companies. And one of the companies that does this is called Orbit Beyond, that I'm a major shareholder in. And so that's pretty exciting. And they're only one of 10 companies that are contracted to be able to bid on NASA missions. So yeah, we're up for several right now. So
That's
very
really
exciting.
cool. It's part of the Eclipse program. Is it Eclipse program? Yeah, CLPS. Yeah,
PLPS program.
Commercial
yes.
Lunar Program.
Yep.
And
Commercial Lunar Program. Yes. Trump has a big push on that right now. Everyone thinks NASA's cutting their budget, but they're really not. They are cutting their own budget because Trump kind of threatened to, cut the NASA budget, but they kind of preemptively did their own thing. The lunar budget is actually expanding and has gotten larger. Other programs have gotten cut back, but the lunar program has actually gotten larger. So there's going to be NASA came out with a lot more missions this year. It's very exciting.
Yeah, Glenn, what would you like?
Well,
to
I
have?
can probably do the cop out answer and say the holodeck. I know everybody probably says that, but
no, not a lot of people
yeah?
say holodeck. To
And
be honest with you,
it's interesting. I don't know if you've seen the past few episodes of SNW, because they spoiler alert. But yeah, they brought it back or brought it to the fore anyway. I know what Duncan said last time, and I think that's. I'm not going to say that, but actually, just the ability to fly too. I think it would be cool to have like a little personal ship, like the Delta Flyer or something smaller than that, but zip around in. Doesn't have to be in space. Just the ability to fly around in a personal vehicle. What are we waiting for anyway? Where's that technology now? Come on, let's go. Let's get out.
I know. The Jetsons said we should already have it by now.
Yeah, right. It's the same conversation. Where's my hoverboard?
Teleport.
Exactly.
Hoverboard, yeah, right.
Where's my hoverboard? It's supposed to be out in like 2015 or
different
we
time.
should already have that too.
Been a while.
We're 10 years past it. Yep. I know. Do you have a different answer this time, Mr.?
You know what? I might stand on the shoulders of someone else that was on your show. I believe it was Linda, actually.
Okay.
Maybe. Who said the replicator. Because if you have a replicator, you can make a medical tricorder, which is what I said before. Like, a sufficiently advanced replicator or food.
Yep.
Like, we have so many problems. And this is, of course, kind of the heart of Star Trek is human beings finding solutions to our conflicts and our problems that keep us from really becoming the best beings we can achieve and learning the most we can learn and exploring things like food, security, and basic needs like shelter and medical care and all of that. So yeah, I have to agree with the replicator person. I'm just too practical to not.
Well, actually, I've had.
I mean, there's probably been a few of us who've said it.
You've said it.
Nice.
Katie, Nicolau has said it. I think TJ said it. I mean, I think honestly, it's almost surprising. It's almost always been the replicator, because then you wouldn't have to drive 2 hours to go to the grocery store. You just be able to say, give me chocolate sundae or something like that. I mean,
Right. Right.
But that's just the one thing that it can make. But like you said, it can do so much more. Great. Well, thank you, all of y'all, for coming on tonight. and doing this, because this has been a good interview. I've really enjoyed this, and I'm looking forward to what everybody says when they actually see this episode. I can't guarantee it, but I may try and get this one pushed out a little bit sooner than normal. Yeah, we'll see. It's going to take him a little bit of editing to do with all these different people.
Right.
But again, thank you all for coming on tonight. And I definitely look forward to doing this again with everybody at some point in time in the future when we have Letter Decks panel number 2 coming out next year. All right.
We're really glad to be here, Chris. Thanks for having us. Thanks, Allison, for being the co-host. And don't hesitate to individually contact any of these people and just have interviews. Like, I'm not the boss of it. So if you do that, I'll be happy to hear about it.
Thank you, Chris and Allison. Very kind of you.
Thank you both very much.
We appreciate it very much.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
This was awesome.
All right. Y'all have a good evening. Bye.
This was wonderful. It was
This was
great to see
wonderful.
everybody.
I had a
Take
wonderful
care.
time.
See you later.
And
Bye,
so
bye, everybody. See you on the message.
more soon, hopefully.
Thank you for watching The Transporter Room. For just $5 per month, enjoy ad-free access to this episode and all previous ones, plus exclusive bonus content. Sign up now on Patreon.